One of the most disturbing things that happened last year was that this video came out of like a bunch of kids leaving high school, and some kid runs up and just fucking shoots 2 of them and kills them, like on the street outside of their school. Nobody's saying they killed anybody, but they are saying that he like paid for and orchestrated a bunch of hits.
I'm about to say a whole bunch of stuff about Lil Durk. So
Yeah, he's got
Drop it here, okay? I got enough people trying to kill me, all right?
Wow, we all have glasses.
Yeah. Well, we need them. Wait, do you need yours?
Yeah. How about your eyesight?
Not that bad.
Okay, I'm
Is
at
yours-
-7.
Yours are 7?
-7, yeah. I'm so blind.
Jesus. Mine is minus 0.5 in one eye and -1 in the other.
It's not even worth wearing it. If
Yeah, I
it's
know.
-0.1.
Well, I did a Piers Morgan thing this morning, so I like to look smart, so I put my glasses on, so I'm like...
I started wearing thicker and thicker glasses to try and look smart. Like that's been the idea. It's kind of worked. Now I got the bow tie. I'm really going for it.
I'm a coward because I got LASIK when I was 25,
Yeah?
and that was the best thing I ever did at that time.
Do you say... Wait, are you public about your age?
41.
41. How do you feel about it now?
LASIK? Great. Yeah.
It's so good?
Yeah. Haven't had any. I mean, my eyesight has definitely got worse over the years, but it's like, it was unbelievably terrible.
My dad
15 years ago.
He had the LASIK and then it wore off. Back on the contact lenses and glasses.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, how long ago did he get the LASIK?
Maybe like 10, 15 years.
There's like a whole community of people that are anti-LASIK now that will basically like tell you how dangerous it is, which I never knew about back in the day.
It'd be an L.
Yeah, it's weird because you got it a long time ago.
Yeah.
And usually people say after like 10 years it wears off, but you were going strong 15, 16 years or whatever?
No,
or 20 years?
Good for me. I got it when I was like 25, so like 16 years.
okay.
Yeah. I can't complain.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting it with the -7, but I'm scared. Like I feel like if it goes wrong, you just go blind, right? Those are the stakes that are on the table.
Yeah, but like how common does that happen? I feel like they do so many of these
Unbelievably
procedures.
unlikely, right?
That's such famous last words though, and then I'm blind.
I mean, you flew on a plane here, you drove in cars here. You go to a...
Yeah, what is like a detransitioner for LASIK? Because maybe that could be like your whole brand. You can make that your internet
Well,
personality.
I'm blind, like Monkey B.
Do you have topics written down?
No, you just
Oh.
messaged me. You're like,
Oh, okay. I was just wondering. You got your little like laptop thing. I was just
in
like,
case you're boring, I can like play video games. You know?
oh, really? Which one are you on now?
Honestly, I haven't played games in like a year since I got on Vyvanse.
Wait, so you get on Vyvanse and then you just lose the gamer instinct?
I think the explanation is that like it's very hard to focus on something. So you watch a lot of my stuff, right?
Yeah.
Usually I'll have a game going, and then in the background, like I'll have a video because it's harder to sit and watch something. But now I can like sit and concentrate or like read stuff. So I don't have the need to like have that constant stimulus. So I feel like I always have something better to do.
What's the downside to the Vyvanse?
Different people have different side effects. I think usually related to elevated heart rate, anxiety, shaking hands, or whatever. For whatever reason, I don't have any.
For you, it's just all positive?
Yeah, like it regulated my sleep and everything. So I'm like golden.
Wow. Because I've been having that experience lately where I'll like sit down, try to like work on writing like a script for a video, and then I can't do anything. Like I'm like fucking opening YouTube over and over, or like, texting, and I just can't like get myself to focus on the mission in front of me, which I haven't normally had that much of a problem with throughout my life. And I feel like I don't know. It's like maybe I need something.
What do you normally script out for content?
Well, we don't really like do that much of that, but I've done that in the past, and I'm like trying to get back into the grind of kind of like writing out videos and like,
what even is like, what are you writing out?
Well,
Like skits or?
no, like just like more like essay style videos. Like that's kind of like right now I feel like I'm like fully interview brained. Like I put all my effort into like writing interviews and focusing on who I'm going to interview. And then as time goes by, it's like I want to have more scripted essay style stuff coming out, and I want to like build it up to have like a team of people helping me, that's really something that I've like figured out through him. He's like he has like a whole team around him doing research and like helping him to like put together his videos, and like I want to have that as more of like a stable foundation, not like the exact kind of stuff he's doing, but like different types of stuff. I don't know.
What's like your dream content? Like what direction do you want to go in or whatever? Like, do you want to talk about?
You stumped me. I don't know.
Well, like, do you want you were talking about doing scripted videos and everything? Do you want to talk about like politics or business stuff, or like still kind of like culture, pop culture stuff,
like
music?
definitely like pop culture and like people who are. I feel like really I want to do like a cooler version of like before they were famous. You remember when that like mattered? Or
a
no?
long time ago, I think.
That guy, Michael McCrudden.
Okay, I don't, but
Oh, okay. There's like a channel called like Before They Were Famous that would just do these like bios about all the different people like emerging in the culture and shit. I don't know what happened, but their views went to dog shit and like totally fell off.
I swear he like sold the channel or something.
Well, he never owned it in the first place. It was
Oh,
always
wow.
like some fucking company that owned it that he worked for. Yeah.
Yeah, he had all these different hosts. I knew that he used to do a lot of videos on the rappers, and like essentially you could just tell it was like pre-scripted. Like he would pronounce names wrong. You could tell they were not vested in any of the topics that they covered whatsoever.
He was like the first YouTuber that I was like mad at because I would interview somebody. Like I remember I interviewed Suicide Boys, and then he did like the Before They Were Famous about Suicide Boys, and it was like obviously 100% taken from my video. And then like their label is like G59, and the whole time he was calling it G59. And I'm just sitting there watching it, like cringing out of my fucking skin, just so mad at the concept of this guy just like taking my content and doing that. And now I'm like so unbelievably used to that.
the two worst things about stuff like that is if they do it and they get more views.
Yes.
And you can't complain about it because you sound like you're crying or whatever. You're just like, oh, fuck.
At that time, that was a very unique experience for me, and now that's just everything.
I feel like the whole ecosystem of YouTube is very like self-feeding. It's kind of like I don't know. There's so much copycatting and stuff that goes on, but it's like everyone's just trying to get their views. Like they're just trying to get their little bite of the algorithm. But I don't know. I feel like it's the video essay space. I feel like over the last like 5 or 6 years, it's got just like very crowded and like very derivative.
Cutthroat.
I think that there's like a trend, probably you could call it a capitalism thing, to where a new thing happens and a whole bunch of people will flood the space and everybody's trying to figure out what works, and you're kind of like in this twilight golden era right after it just starts, and everybody's like experimental. But then once the formula is figured out, everybody hones in on that. And this is like the story of everything, right? Like video games, you know, when people were making games, I bring this up all the time. If you ever played like original PlayStation, whether or not like X or O was even confirmed was different from game to game. And there were like different control schemes and like experimental like games and who knows what works. But now like Ubisoft and Activision and Blizzard, like they have like this very formulaic approach. And it's the same thing with like YouTube as well, right?
Yeah, like when we were kids, it was like even just like the categories of video games were like kind of loose. And then now when you think about it, it's like everybody can sort and tell you exactly what a video game is, like what box it belongs in and stuff. And it's like the audience is like super hyper aware of exactly what they're dealing with. And yeah, like so many times when I sit down and try to play a video game, it just becomes unbelievably obvious to me that this is like, oh, I'm exchanging like money and or time for like advancing in this game, but none of the things that I'm advancing in the game. Like you have to buy in to like believe that there's some value in progressing in this game, and it's like I can't get my like logical brain around that as an adult.
Yeah, it feels a little soulless sometimes. I feel like it's been like this for like a decade. There's like this Ubisoft approach where you enter an area, your mini map is dark, you need to like climb a tower or go to a watch thing or whatever, and then you unlock the map, and then like 2 main quest icons show up, 3 mini quest icons show up, and like 4 whatever show up. And you go around, you walk around, you do them all, and then you go to the next area, you unlock the next tower, and you repeat. And that's like been the formula. And you don't even really have to like be watching the game because you just have like a little check marker on your screen and it's all like open world. So you just like run to the next place and it's like, okay.
You're just map following basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But I mean, I feel like YouTube content will be very similar where it's like, hey guys, today I'm going to do this. My video happens to be 10 minutes and 4 seconds long because that's about how long it needs to be in order to get picked up. And I'm going to give you the most surface level glimpse into this topic like you've ever heard in your entire life. And yeah.
And I feel like my brain gravitates back towards like the super simple games that I played as a kid because like I love Minesweeper. I like Pac-Man. I like Tetris. I like very, very simple games that like don't have any kind of fluff added to it.
Minesweeper?
You would like Minesweeper.
I know what Minesweeper is. It's just
okay.
That's like saying like, I used to play real games like tic-tac-toe and
okay.
That's the thing you can say, I guess.
But you could watch some videos about Minesweeper and like kind of like see how extreme it has gotten, where people like have just taken it to the extent to which they've optimized being able to guess like what might be in any given square is very appealing to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of feel like poker has occupied that space in my mind so hard for so long. But I'm like, I feel like I'm kind of ready to get out of it. Like I've just been too interested in poker for too long, and I'm just not like growing.
When did you get? Do you do it?
Understanding wise.
Is this like a significant hobby for you? Like you investing a lot of time into it, or
not a lot, but for sure I'll like watch/play for like an hour or two a day.
Oh, okay. I remember watching you do it on stream like 3 years ago. I remember you used to stream sometimes Sit and Goes or something.
Yeah, and I remember I got you coaching with BBZ one time, and then I wanted to see it so bad, and then it never emerged anywhere. So I never got to like figure out where you were at in terms of what he was teaching you about.
I think we streamed.
Yeah.
Oh, but I don't know if it got uploaded.
It didn't pop up anywhere, so I never got to see it. I was sad.
I'm surprised you haven't got like a stake deal or something to do the paid gambling stuff. I mean, I really hate all that stuff, but like if you gamble, like that's...
But most of that is like brainless gambling, whereas like poker is like the idea is that you can win long term if you're good at it, but like stake and shit doesn't like have... I've never been attracted to any kind of gambling besides poker.
You just, without realizing it, that's one of the most triggering statements you can say to a poker player. It's like, oh, so you must play like craps and roulette and like slots, right? And then that's the speech you'll always get. Poker, it's not against the house. It's not gambling. You can be profitable over the long term. You can't be profitable in any table game, okay? It's not the same thing.
But the thing about it too, though, is that in any given poker game, because the rake is so high, it'll usually be like 5 to 10% of the people who play are in any way profitable and everybody else is losing, which is like, you know, if there was no rake, then it would be like much easier to be profitable. You'd probably have like, you know, 40% of people would be profitable, but instead it's like terrible because they take so much out of it.
In real life or online?
Both.
Okay. I think the rake in real life is significantly worse, and because you're seeing like 15, 20 hands an hour maybe because it's so much slower, and you have to tip if you don't want to be an asshole.
The biggest online poker site, ggpoker.com, has basically like taken the concept of charging people rake, and they've taken it to such an insane, extreme degree that they're charging like 2 or 3 times as much rake as like all the sites throughout history, which is like really taking it to another level of like making it difficult to beat it. But they're pretty transparent about like not really wanting pros in their games. They want to create an environment in which it's like a good game for people who suck, and that no intelligent pro would actually want to spend their time playing on the site.
Yeah.
You ever see the YouTube channel Emp Lemon?
No.
He had a good video about like a poker player called, I think his name was like Chris Moneyman or something.
Oh, Chris Moneymaker. I watched that one, the greatest tournament run of all time. Yeah.
What do you think of that?
It's true. It's like unbelievable. That's like the craziest story ever. He's just like a random fucking guy, and then he somehow qualified for the World Series and somehow won the whole thing.
That was very entertaining. Would that be the kind of documentary you'd want to make on the channel, like something like Poker Law?
Nah.
No.
Poker's too niche.
That was a very entertaining doc, though.
That was a good one.
That was crazy.
Yeah. I couldn't believe it got 1 million views just because that's such an old fucking story from a poker player perspective. That's like, because that like created the initial poker boom.
How long? When did you get into poker?
When I was probably like 20, 21. Like, it was huge. It was like the only thing on TV back then.
I'm so salty because, I want to say it was around like 2006, 2007, 2008. Like the online poker scene was so much fun.
2009 was like
so cool.
Black Friday when they wiped out everybody's
and then if you're
accounts.
Basically they made it in the United States. I don't remember what the law was. It had to do with like how they held money or transacted money from customers, but they basically effectively banned all Americans from playing online. So you had like this super fun environment where all these like casual people, like retards like me, were getting involved. You had like these heroes on TV, like your Phil Ivies and your Helmuths and your Tom Dwans, these like really young guys, your Chris Moneymakers doing your WSOP. And the games were so fun and so cool. And then everybody gets banned. And now you go online. I don't know about now, but like you'd go online after and it's like fucking people multi-tabling 16 tables with their like poker tracker up, and it's like the hardest fucking tightest game you've ever seen in your entire life, and you're like getting destroyed everywhere.
But poker has changed so much since then, because it used to be that you could go online on any given night and see all these players, like top players, going against each other, and that doesn't happen anymore because they're all cognizant of the fact that there's no reason to just like play against somebody else who's like approximately as good as you, because at that time it was believed that like your poker strategy is your poker strategy and his strategy is his strategy. Now we all know we've converged upon one truth through
that's
solvers.
Funny too.
Yeah.
The same thing as like video games and movies and what we were complaining about earlier. Like before, you like the games were like experimental and shit.
Yeah.
And now it's like, why would you call? There's like a 27% chance of this, and your implied odds of this, and the ranges. It's like
now the people who can consistently win in poker are like the geniuses who've studied the solver the most, and then the only divergence from that strategy is like exploits, which is basically like, I feel like Destiny's kind of tight. He's going to fold more. He's going to fold 5% more than the average player. So I'm going to like tweak the solver output in my head to be a little bit more aggressive because I know he's over folding. But basically, like it's gone from this game where everybody had their own unique style to a game where there's just like an understanding of what's correct. And even, you know, a 21-year-old kid who's just playing $5 tournaments online, there's a pretty good chance that he's sitting there with solvers and studying all this insanely good studying material out there and is able to, like, you know, basically like beat the shit out of like anyone who isn't equally studied. I
think that's why live games are still fun, because they're not like that as much. People are chatting, having fun.
Live is just unbelievably bad. Everybody is horrible.
Yeah, but it's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
You could definitely be like way more profitable playing live versus like online. You're competing against everybody else who wants to, like every single person on earth who wants to play this stake could potentially play against you. So when you get to like decently high amounts, like if you want to sit down and play poker with $5,000 on the table, well, there's some guy in Belarus that's like feeding his family off of the fact that you're a little bit worse than him. So, you know, you're never going to be able to compete with that guy. That guy has 8 hours a day to study this game, you know?
What's your main thing online?
So I do like very long form video essays, mainly about kind of like gangster rappers, drill rappers.
Okay.
He's like the foremost expert on the convergence of like making content that combines like drill rappers and shit with true crime. Like his greatest success was this video about King Von that basically like breaks down his lyrics as well as like police reports and all kinds of other shit to like basically prove that he was a serial killer.
That sounds interesting.
He's quite notorious / famous for it. Yeah,
we're in this really interesting era. I don't know how much you know about drill music, but like
only the bad things I would read about Adam in it. Like, literally, that's it.
Well, Tim Pool just put out a clip about drill rap, basically saying like, oh, okay, it's like 10, 15 years too late.
Yeah, I was going to say
drill is bad. Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, like gangster rap is like a subgenre of rap music that's evolved over the years, and then drill music or drill rap is like essentially a hyper violent branch off from gangster rap that's basically all about like real murders that are provable. And so I've kind of become the foremost guy to like prove the murders, look at the lyrics. Like with Kim Von, like I read every tweet he ever made, and like he would basically kill people and then tweet about it straight after. And like I kind of like put that all together, and it was quite controversial at the time when I dropped that.
Do you ever get worried about making that kind of content?
Yeah, that's a whole thing. Like
he's always trying to like figure out how worried he should be.
Why are you trying to get this guy killed?
I'm not. He took this career on himself.
So you said that Ross was coming. Okay, I don't know anything about anything on the internet, even in my area, because I just don't have time to watch anything. Yeah. So I'm trying to look up like, okay, like who's Ross? How do I title the stream? Everything, and I keep seeing like trap lore Ross. So I'm assuming it's like, okay, Ross is talking about trap lore, but what's his name? And then I eventually found out it was trap lore. But one of the top clips that comes up is like Adam shows trap lore Ross calling out like the Crips or something, and I'm like, damn,
thing.
Why would you do that?
Oh, yeah.
Trying to get this guy killed.
That was kind of my fault, though. I shouldn't have said that. That was my fault. I should have known better.
You knew you were trolling, like.
No, but I didn't know that I was trolling to that extent. I wasn't. Oh man, that was bad. But yeah, no, I get a lot of issues. It's a whole thing. Like I'd be getting threatened by these guys, and like this is just a whole thing. But it's like it's very easy to threaten me. Like, look at me. I'm not a gangster, but like I'm kind of the figurehead of exposing killer rappers. Basically, their whole thing is they call me the police.
Okay.
Like, I'm a fed. But
we both have like YouTube comments kind of constantly wishing death upon us for these crimes that are often poorly articulated. They're basically just telling us that we've done something horrible to this community and that we should feel terrible about it. And people have got thrown in jail because of us, and nobody can ever name anyone who's actually been thrown in jail. People got killed because of us, and nobody can ever actually name anybody who got killed because of us. So it's kind of funny because we were with this dude 1090 Jake all weekend too, and he's like, he does videos primarily like a lot of his content over the past few years has been like exposing snitches, and he's definitely got himself in some situations where it's like people probably wanted to do something physically, because like he could make a video about somebody and literally cost that person like millions of dollars by exposing some shit that they said to the cops, which is kind of different when, you know, he or I are sort of like working with information that's usually like publicly available. But also Jake is a blood. Jake's done prison time. I feel like somebody doing something to him is a lot more plausible because of the fact that he's actually like a real participant in that world, as opposed to us where we're kind of outsiders criminal wise.
I feel like we're easy targets though, because like for me it's like it's very easy for a rapper to like try and apply pressure to me and like get some attention and some clout off of that, because I guess it's like there's been like viral clips of people dissing me and stuff like that, and I'm kind of in this world where it's like all these killers and stuff, and like I get why people would say that like when people call me the police, I actually take that as a compliment. I'm good at what I do. Like when the Young Thug case happened, like 6 months before he got arrested, I basically aired out the whole murder and everything that had gone down, and they were like, oh, Ross is the reason he got arrested. But it's just like, if I was able to work it out with Twitter, the police were obviously able to work it out with your subpoenaed phone records, but I kind of catch a lot of the heat to say like, you're the reason these guys got arrested.
Would you? Okay, so again, I'm a gang retard, believe it or not. I did watch all 5 seasons of The Wire. That's about the extent of my knowledge. Would you be considered like a fair target, I guess, for somebody that makes content like that, or would that be kind of like this kind of fucked up?
It's an interesting thing, because it's like, I personally, on like a personal level, I don't believe it's very gangster or tough to press me, and like, you know, look, I live in the UK, like I'm kind of out of the way for all of that stuff, but like, I understand why they don't like me. And why?
I'm not saying don't like you. I mean, like if somebody, like let's say you went to the studio with Adam and there were guys that knew you were going that day, do you think you'd be like a fair person to show up and like, you know, like jump or something?
Yeah, in some certain select scenarios. Like there's certain people that I'm definitely not trying to be around. But then overall, I would say that like some of the threats against me have been slightly overblown.
Very overblown.
Very overblown.
Well, I think, because it's like, from my perspective, all right, throughout the history of hip hop, I've seen situations in which like journalists have gotten like punched or like had, you know, or been like threatened or some shit by like rappers. In terms of like really shooting or like beating the dog shit out of someone who's like really just a commentator on the culture, just feels like very unlikely, not really the kind, like I've just never really seen like a rapper have that kind of energy for somebody. Now, granted, like right now, if you were to run into, okay, if we were in the club and you saw like Duty Low and like a bunch of like OTF affiliates, I don't consider that to be totally out of the realm of possibility that in the right place, somebody might be down to sucker punch you or whatever.
Yeah. Like Q50 and Vert.
Yeah, but even like that, it just feels like it's so unlikely. And especially like you not being a gang member, like you being like capable of talking to the cops, which like a lot of, you know, 1090 Jake would not talk to the cops no matter what somebody did to him.
Would you ever, and you don't have to answer this if it would endanger you, but let's say there was some type of activity and you feel like you've seen something or figured out something that you feel like the police have missed. Are you ever like contacting the cops directly or anything? Or are you just like putting out videos on YouTube and, you know, whatever happens, happens?
That's what they accuse me of, but I personally feel like if I found it, the police will have found it. Because the police can subpoena your records. They'll be looking at all of your DMs and stuff. And these guys really be arranging murders in DMs and iMessages and stuff, right? So it's like, what's interesting is like the Young Thug thing. 6 months before he got arrested, I kind of cracked the whole case. I did like a 2-hour video about it and his beef and the murder that happened. But then when the indictment actually came out, there was a bunch of text messages between him and his guys that I'd never seen that tied it all together even more. So it was kind of like, I feel like I'm just kind of the tip of the iceberg. But I do sometimes find stuff that's like, I'm like, oh, I actually really found something crazy here and I'm not going to put that out because that's too, like, I don't have anything to gain by putting this out, and I put myself in a bit more danger than I need to by putting this out. So
like he doesn't work off anything that isn't like public material, but if there's an indictment, he's probably going to be the one who like writes a video that sort of breaks down the indictment in full, you know, depth. But then to like a gang member, you're like the face of what it seems like snitching to them, even though like think about all the resources that the cops have. You know, they could get access to your phone, they could have access to your email, your Instagram, etc. And it's like, to even compare what somebody like you does to what the cops are capable of doing is just so retarded beyond belief, because like, you know, it's not palatable for a gangster to like be mad at the cops. You know, they understand that the cops are just doing their job and that they're going to come upon whatever information is possible. So like the idea of getting mad at you for breaking down exclusively stuff that is already available online is just so dumb.
There's this crazy lack of accountability of like, I did this video recently about this guy that he says in all of his songs that he killed 8 people, Q50, talking about Q50 caught 8 bodies and still on the run. And it's like, he's put all of this information out there and it's pretty easily verifiable. There's videos of murders taking place. There's all this kind of different paperwork. Like, it's pretty grisly. It's kind of gruesome. But like, you know, he was super mad at me and kind of really directed that anger towards me, calling me the police and all of this stuff. But like at the same time, it's like, you are running around on songs talking about I've got 8, they call it like hats, like a hat is like a murder, like a body, so they'll be like I got 8 hats, so they're broadcasting all of this stuff to millions of people. These songs have millions of views, but then they get very upset when I point that out.
But it's weird because we'll be listening to the music and hearing them say shit, and it just sounds like a vague description of criminality, right? Like it's not like we really know if there's any truth to it. But like one of the most disturbing things that happened last year was that this video came out of like basically there's a bunch of kids leaving high school, and some kid runs up and just fucking shoots 2 of them and kills them like on the street outside of their school. There's like, you know, women like drop into their knees crying and
Like
screaming in the
like
middle of
kids,
Chicago.
really?
Yeah, like kids, like 16, 17, some shit like that. And then we all see this clip, and it's like the conclusion is just like, holy fuck, like that's insane. That's terrible. That's like the worst shit I've seen in a long time. And then this rapper, Bloodhound Lil Jeff, gets killed. And then you basically end up finding out that he basically was the one who went and killed those kids outside of the school. So at the same time, I'm watching that clip on Twitter being like, wow, that's the most fucked up shit I ever seen. And then I'm also watching music videos of this rapper and not realizing that it was him who pulled the trigger and that he's actually rapping about it. And like he kind of does like the legwork of like breaking down the songs and being like, these lyrics are most likely describing these murders that he actually committed. And everybody involved in this is like between the age of like 16 and like 20.
Yeah. So you're like rap genius, but for solving murders. Okay.
Yeah, like drill genius, I would probably say. Yeah, it's interesting because it's like a rap genius is like a very useful resource, and there's like a lot of really interesting lyric breakdowns on there. But like my thing is like I'm really trying to find out like everything. Like that guy you're talking about, Lil Jeff, like he allegedly killed like 11 people within the span of like 2 years, and then he ended up getting killed himself. Like the crazy thing is like nowadays so much of this stuff's on camera. Jeff getting killed was on camera, it was leaked, put everywhere. The 2 kids that he killed, that's on camera. Like that footage was really gruesome, and it's just nowadays it's unusual for a drill rapper to not die on camera, to be honest.
Jesus.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because I remember when XXXTentacion got
man,
killed.
in his car.
Yeah, but I remember like I found out, I'm just like, what the fuck? And then I go to Twitter and I immediately see a video of him with his whole shit split open, bleeding out, etc.
The guys are like selfieing, talking shit after they killed him, right? Are they?
That's random people that are filming it.
Okay,
The guys
yeah,
that did
yeah.
it ran away.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. Okay.
But that was just like the first person that I lost to violence probably in my whole life was him, I think. Like somebody that I was like really close to.
Oh
And-
shit, I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, and then I go to Twitter and I just like see the video of it, and then but that has become such an unbelievably common experience because we saw Draco get killed by 20 dudes stabbing him to death. We saw King Von die from like a security camera. We saw Lil Jeff die on the security camera. It's like everybody. There's so many cameras now that it's like very unlikely that you won't see it.
Do you think Tentacion was like the first? He wasn't a drill rapper at all, right?
No.
Do you think he was like the first like public like SoundCloud rapper killing like of that magnitude?
Yeah, pretty much. Because like a bunch of the other SoundCloud rappers died. Like Lil Peep died before that, but that was from a fake Xanax.
But there was footage of that too. They filmed his body after he was in the room. You know, it's messed
Yeah,
up.
different, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
different.
but even then, like Juice WRLD died like right after that. Most of the SoundCloud rappers died from drugs more so than violence. But the X thing was like the most random shit ever because he was like, he wasn't really like that. You know, he was crazy when he was younger. He was like violent. I remember like before I even interviewed him, I saw a video of him like stabbing somebody in a street fight. But I never would have ever dreamed that like, because the dudes who killed him were basically like real Florida gang members, you know, like kind of guys who like, you know, were basically like Kodak Black clones, more or less. So they got all these face tattoos, they're from gangs, etc. X wasn't from that side of the tracks. He probably could have ended up there if he wasn't a rapper, but
He just had a bag of like 50 grand in cash. He was going to buy a motorcycle,
Yeah.
and then they
Yeah,
just
and they
locked
robbed it,
out.
yeah.
It's messed up. He didn't want to give it up, and just I don't know.
Damn.
But if you don't know much about this space, you know, it's quite fascinating. Like on Reddit, there's basically a community for like every city's gang culture. Like in Chicago, which is probably the most violent city for this kind of stuff, there's Chiracology subreddit, and they basically, it's like punditry for the gang warfare that's going on in Chicago, and they follow it like it's sports, you know. It's kind of crazy.
But I think the only one I've ever been like aware of or seen, I think I watched a fucking video on it, was all the Jacksonville guys.
Yeah.
he did like the definitive video about that at one point. You might
I
have
might have watched your
might
video.
have,
Yeah.
I can't. I love white people. We're all white people here. Thank God.
You're Cuban.
Fucking slave owner Cuban is okay. The oh God, who was the Vanessa Carlton when she
Yeah,
was
yeah.
tweeting out?
Yeah.
You might have even covered in your video. Yeah. When she was tweeting out the like, actually, and then she posted a clip of Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
Violence is used in white people media all the time, so I don't know why these people that murder people in real life can't use my songs. I was like,
that was like one of the most ignorant things I've ever seen anyone say. I was like so astonished that she said
the Reservoir Dogs is not a real life event. That's not like that's a movie, right? Yeah. Jesus, what a crazy statement by her.
I feel like she probably got a nice paycheck off of allowing that sample to go through.
But like,
wait, do you think they actually really licensed it from her?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, because once it went super viral, I think they went back and did the paperwork. But
okay.
But here's the crazy thing: the response song that the guy Fulio, who unfortunately got killed like last year or this year, his response, he sampled that Fantasia song "When I See You," but he didn't get the clearance, and he couldn't get the clearance. They wouldn't clear it. So like all of his ops that were dissing all these dead people that got in with Vanessa Carlton, they made a bunch of money off of it. Fulio didn't make a cent off of his one. It's kind of like I don't know. It's a very dirty game.
That's why he got killed. Couldn't afford any real heat.
There's a lot of reason why he got killed, man. It's unfortunate.
I think I watched that one. Is that the music video where he's like rapping near like the the one after the Fuzi
in the graveyard.
Okay, yeah.
And he's got the picture of the 3 dead guys.
Yeah. Jeez, that's crazy.
But people like these rappers put together such fascinating storylines, and then the fans want us to feel bad because we're fascinated by it. I refuse. It's just, this is interesting. Like, this deserves to be documented and talked about.
It's bizarre that I feel like people kind of push me in a way that they kind of act like you shouldn't be able to talk about this stuff. It's like you got a Vanessa Carlton sample. The guy's making fun of 4 specific dead people who he names.
The music video has 50 million views in like a week.
And like,
and you want us to not talk about it.
But like all of the people he mentions in the song, it's like, "Who I smoke, baby." Like Baby's a 16-year-old kid. So my goal with that video was to like really make people understand, like these aren't made up names for fun. Like that's a real kid that got killed when he was 16 at a park when this situation happened. This guy got shot on the highway, and it's kind of like I try and bring like a very responsible tone to this very messed up, like deranged, murderous musical world.
Yeah, it feels like in the gangster rap days, and maybe I'm ignorant, I don't, but it feels like in the gangster rap days, you would like rap about bad shit you did when you were younger.
Yeah.
And then Drobot was like, well, what if we rapped while we were still doing it and continued
or you're
doing it?
rapping about like what like the worst guy from your neighborhood did.
Yeah.
But people are willing to accept that like, oh, he's not a killer, but he's talking about like some shit that like somebody he knows did. Whereas now it feels like it's the fans, they're not really all that interested unless they at least think there's like a good chance that you're involved in the shit that you're rapping about,
I feel like King Von is kind of the guy that changed the game because he allegedly killed 7 people and got away with it and was rapping and became very famous. And like I feel like he was kind of the one that really broke down the door of like the people that are going to do well are real killers that we can verify they actually killed people. If he was still alive, he would definitely be doing life, I think.
Yeah.
But
are there any like drill rappers that retire?
Violence-wise, yeah, for sure.
Okay, they don't all like die when they're like. Okay.
Usually, quite quickly. That's really like when we talk about Lil Jeff. That's what like made him really stand out is the fact that he was already blowing up as a rapper, had millions of views on all the songs and shit, and then he literally like went to his enemy's hood and like jumped out of the car with a machine gun and started shooting at people, and then somebody came out of the house and shot him and killed him. But it was like, anybody with any sense would stop participating in that kind of shit, especially once they achieved some level of success. But he was like still out there like really doing that shit. But he's young as fuck too. He's like 20. It's like he didn't really have enough time to like even somebody like Dirk is probably Lil Durk is probably gonna do
Thanks for clarifying.
Yeah,
so many Durks in the trap scene, but okay,
no,
for
but
Lil Durk, yeah.
Okay, Lil Durk is like the most recent dude who's like basically got caught up. Nobody's saying that he killed anybody, but they are saying that he like paid for and orchestrated a bunch of hits.
I'm about to say a whole bunch of stuff about Lil Durk. So
yeah, he's
got to drop it here. Okay, I got enough people trying to kill me. All right.
But yeah, the Lil Jeff one's interesting because it's like the footage of him getting killed. He's actively trying to kill someone and then get shot. So like, there's been a whole thing of just like, well, he really went out trying to be a killer, like everything he said in his songs. And it's kind of like it's this weird badge of honor of like how he died. And it's just, I don't know, it's very twisted. It's like some real life, like, what's that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger where it's like they all got killed?
Terminator 2.
Nah, come on. Well, what's the other one?
Mr. Mom.
Oh, man.
No.
Running Man?
I
Pumping
watched
Iron.
a lot of Arnold.
Okay.
I don't know.
Movies. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, like I don't know, Squid Game or something, real life. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway.
Yeah, like sometimes I think like, how like there's guys on Twitter where it's like if you're like the anti-abortion guy, like you just quote tweet everything that happens in the culture and just like say that this is bad because it. In some
like
way.
The Trump reply guys, there'd be people that would show up. I know what you mean, yeah.
It does sometimes occur to me that the obvious like career transition that like quite a few people in my position would be to like become like an anti-drill commentator or like everything that happens in rap you like write your little paragraph talking about how it's bad. I feel like we could do both. You could be like, you could talk about how this culture has like some extremely fucked up shit about it while also being interested in it. But that's like a tricky thing to balance. Like people are very challenged by seeing you, be a fan of shit while also being able to acknowledge that this is probably like net negative for society, 100% net negative for society.
It's like a fine line because like I always try and bring like a very responsible tone to these very dark stories, and I like often part of my videos is like the first 20 minutes I might explain like, well, they're coming from this really impoverished area and there's been so much oppression that's gone on, and you've got young guys that are being forced into this violent lifestyle that they might not have been forced into if they were born somewhere else.
Sometimes I wonder if your retention on your videos would be better if it didn't have the 20 minutes of like breaking down like post-slavery, like how this community ended up like this. Like I wonder, is there like a drop off?
I think so. It's something I'm working on is like maybe kind of front loading it and kind of like playing with the timeline, like some Tarantino stuff of like, maybe the responsible stuff I'll put at the end.
Do you think that like in listening to a lot of older rappers, it seems like there's always like regret expressed and like trying to tell these young kids not to do like Korean Wu-Tang, like like talking, don't let these guys get involved in these lifestyles. Do the drill people seem the same way, or are they like more like fuck it, like gangbang, do it, have fun?
Yeah, I feel like now it's gone the other way where it's like the majority of the guys that are doing really well on the drill thing, like Lil Durk. Like if you go back and listen to some of Lil Durk's recent albums, he's really talking about I pay to get people killed, and it's like he's laid it all out. Like it's not looking good for him.
Okay.
And so, but then it's like he's a funny one because he's very like his personality is very duplicitous. Of like he'll have these pain songs where he's like, I regret so much of what I did, and then the next track will just be like, I pay to have him killed. Like we put hits out on people, we're gonna come to get you, we're gonna fly to get you. So I don't know. It's kind of. It's very twisted, but I think it says so much about like where our media is these days, where it's like the things that do well are just the most extreme examples. Like King Von, it's like he killed 7 people. Then this Jeff guy is saying he killed 11 people. Now it's just getting absurd to think this rapper killed 11 people and he was running around talking about it.
Yeah, I guess my next question would be for I don't know if you call it traditional rap or mainstream rap or whatever. If you think like people like 21 Savage or whatever, does any of the pressure to be like hard flow upstream from the drill stuff back to the ordinary rappers?
Well, yes, because I feel like somebody like Drake brings in 21 Savage and does an album with him and like has him on a ton of his songs because Drake is so, cunning and able to recognize what's going on in the culture, and he realizes that a huge percentage of the popular music right now has lyrics about killing people and shooting people, etc. And he knows that he can't really like authentically do that, but if he does a whole album with 21 Savage, 21 can kind of do that. But also like 21 Savage is at the point success wise where he's never gonna rap about some real street shit for the most part.
Because like 21, I don't know, but 21 wasn't a drill rapper, was he?
He kind of was, but he was like from a generation before that where it's like he was not rapping about the specific people that he had issues with, whereas like with a lot of drill rappers, that's like the main characteristic
so
of it.
My question was more not even like people doing songs with somebody like 21, but like people like 21. Do they feel, because there used to be some, or at least it felt like there was some credit in talking about, even fucking Jay-Z talks about he used to sell crack or whatever.
But I think somebody like 21 Savage is too aware of where he's at in his career to actually start rapping about shit that is like super specific. Like he's not.
So they don't feel that pressure. They just want to make music and say.
But somebody like Lil Durk, who came up as the guy who's rapping about all this beef that he's involved in and shit. When you think about that, it's like he's smart enough to realize that if he completely stops making that kind of music, he's really kind of like ceding a percentage of his fan base to like younger, newer artists because they want to hear that shit from him. And like Durk is somebody who has been able to make big records outside of the drill shit. But I think also he probably knows that like a lot of his biggest songs are basically ones where he's like taunting, the families of dead people and whatnot.
Have you ever had any of these drill rappers get like features from mainstream rappers? Does that happen?
Yeah, Lil Durk did a whole song with J. Cole all my life. I played that song for my kid a million times.
Jesus.
My kid loves it. The whole song is about how kids need to do better and be better, etc. And then he gets indicted for murders, ordering murders.
It's kind of like a facade. Like he had that song with Drake called Laugh Now, Cry Later. And it's this kind of like fun, sort of quite positive song. But it's like beneath the surface, there's a lot of references like Laugh Now, Cry Later. The song came out like a couple days after this guy, FBG Duck, got murdered. And Dirk's kind of been sort of implicated in organizing this thing. So it's like he's kind of like wrapped up this positive music with this like undertone of like, but people are getting killed over this stuff. And it's like 2 songs later on the album after an inspiring song, he's then just confessing to arranging a bunch of murders. So
I think like the question is like how does a culture erase that, war instinct from itself over time, because like really there's a lot of rappers that we could kind of suspect would be doing the kinds of things that Dirk has done, like, whether it's like currently or like maybe at some point throughout their career or whatever. They're probably just a lot more low key about it, or they didn't have people snitching on them, etc. And it's just like I wonder that a lot, like, is this like, what does it take to make people want to stop doing these revenge killings?
That's what sells now, though.
Yeah, it feels like the difference is like I don't know how common this was, but I guess I'm reminded of, or I'm thinking of people that sometimes like become really successful athletes can sometimes come from bad backgrounds. And generally, when you become a successful athlete, like that's you leaving where you came from and making something more of yourself. And then there's that contrast between like your new group of friends, the new world you live in versus where you came from. And then some people have a hard time shedding that. So I'm thinking of like Conor McGregor, like fighting dudes on a bus. And it's like, why you don't need to act like this anymore. But now, rather than you making it as you leaving that world, people have found a way to monetize the world itself, which is like weird. Because again, when I think back to like older rappers that I listened to, like rapping was your way out of the hood, right? The rapping was like, I don't have to do this shit anymore. Now I can rap. But I was like, but if I can rap about this and do it at the same time, like if you were a drill rapper, what are you even ascending to other than like killing more people? I'm phrasing this aggressive, but I'm just asking, right?
We kind of have seen like a more commercialized version of drill rappers where you have somebody like Lil Durk that's able to make these big hits. And so like he might put out a project and there might be 15 songs on it, and there's like 3 of them that are basically like murder anthems, and then a bunch of the other ones are like auto-tune ballads talking about sad shit, talking about eating pussy, talking about whatever, and it's like we've seen somebody like Chief Keef who started out as a drill rapper and then kind of like slowly transformed into what is now, where it's not like he would never rap about some gangster shit, but he's not, specifically naming off dead ops in his songs really or anything like that. So it's kind of, there's definitely like a version of that, but like, it's stunned me at times when there's people in the music industry who are literally like 60-year-old juice box emojis who basically, are out here signing like every single drill rapper that they could possibly get their hands on. And like, from my perspective, it's like, what is the longevity that you see in this dude's career? Like, very like 1% of drill rappers end up having a career that goes beyond just.
Well, you don't need longevity, right? You just need to make money off them, right?
Yeah, but you just would expect these big labels to not want to invest in something that is basically like, has such a tiny percentage chance. But I guess if you're trying to like impress the board or the shareholders or whatever, you got to sign some people and you got to try to turn them into stars. And a lot of times they see these drill rappers as being the artists who have the best chance of turning into something.
But I feel like right now it's so ghoulish that like the dead rappers are worth more to the labels than the alive ones. There's the whole Empire curse thing of like Empire Records signed all of these guys that ended up getting killed, and then it's like the posthumous albums are popping.
Yeah, because I was gonna say that's kind of dark, but like if you're telling me I can like contract people who die and then I own the rights to all their shit, like imagine being the guy who signs like Van Gogh and he killed himself.
But I feel like the vast majority of drill rappers when they die, it's kind of over, and like very once in a while, like even the Bloodhounds, like their shit is streaming like way better now, I'm sure, than before they died.
Way better.
But like a year or two from now, no way. Like I feel like if you're gonna sign somebody, you basically are banking on the idea that they're going to become something more as time goes by and not just die and leave you, 30 songs that you can monetize.
I don't know if it's similar like in the gaming world or in the content creation world as it is in the drill world too, but like my guess is similar in that these are people that don't have access to many resources, and as a label you can probably flash a lot when it's not really that much. Like you're old enough, you know that if somebody comes to you with a deal and it's not money, but it's some other bullshit, right? Like some kind of product, or you can stay in a house or a car or free flights or some bullshit. It's always bullshit. But if you're offering some dude who's never had access to any of this shit before, like you can stay in some place or throw some extravagant party or free time in a recording booth and like $5,000 or something, maybe for some of these people, you can buy out like 20, 30, 40 drill rappers, and you only need like one of them to make all of the other stuff worth it, maybe. Yeah.
That's definitely how it usually plays out. Because it's like, labels will sign an artist and give them like $100,000 and they feel like they've made it. And number one, the $100,000 doesn't last that long, and number two, it's like you're paying that off through your royalties through the music, and it's like it's going to take you an insanely long period of time. I still have people all the time being like gloating to me about signing publishing deals, and I'm just thinking like you're just But then meanwhile, you talk to like an older person in the industry who's experienced some success, and they'll be lamenting how they signed a publishing deal when they were 18 and it totally fucked them over financially going forward. I mean, yeah, the music industry is insanely predatory. They kind of deserve a lot of what they're going through right now.
It's interesting though, because these music executives, they don't seem scared to like completely stitch up a very dangerous gangster rapper in the mad contract, because they're like, well, he's not going to touch us in this big building, and like we're just going to own him, basically own everything he's ever done, and hopefully he dies within a year, and then we're good.
And you know when I realized how crazy it was is because when I was with Atlantic, I wanted to sign Draco, and they were basically like, no. And like he's like a very dangerous like LA rapper who passed away. And like then I'm realizing that the same label is very open to signing New York drill rappers and Chicago drill rappers, because they know that they're not going to have to deal with the likelihood of 20 gang members pulling up to their office and causing a scene or whatever. So shit that is local for them is a lot of times way less attractive. And that's part of why we look at the West Coast as being like, you know, kind of behind compared to a lot of these markets, is because a lot of the big rappers who seem like they could have potential off the West Coast kind of a lot of times get shelved prematurely or ignored by the industry.
I could be naive, but I feel like if like any, like I'm thinking like cartel, like in Mexico, like if a cartel person like kills an American, you get like obliterated because you're ruining like tourism and you're bringing all this attention. I feel like if a drill rapper like attacked an exec, I feel like everybody else in the industry would be like, bro,
if they go full Luigi
up for like literally, yeah, you're gonna fuck it up for all of us.
If they go full Luigi, it could be real bad. Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah.
Damn, free Luigi.
What do you? I know you're gonna leave pretty soon. Can I ask you a question? I'm gonna
sure. Yeah, whatever you want.
Because I hear this. This used to come up a lot. I don't know if you're comfortable talking about it or care or whatever. Do you ever consider the implications? And I know people have thrown this at you a lot about like covering like drill rap or making money off of that stuff, like from the perspective of, you know, like being white guys who are like outside of that world a little bit. Have you ever like seriously engaged with that, or do you just like fuck that, I don't care about this type of conversation? Or
I debate this all the time. I'm quite comfortable like debating that topic personally.
I feel like my typical response would be a little bit more emotional of like, no, I don't give a fuck, like whatever you're talking about.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
he could probably give a better intellectualized version of it. Yeah.
Well, I think there's sometimes it's just like I'm like a very easy target to be like, well, you're a white guy making money off of this thing, but it's just like no one ever goes at the record labels that support and distribute this kind of music and this very negative, murderous message. Very rarely are the rappers held accountable for the people that are actually committing violence and actually like broadcasting this message and convincing a generation of people that think it's cool. So for me, I feel like my real defense to that is that like I'm actually trying to bring like a very thoughtful and responsible approach to this space that's extremely lawless and out of control and negative. And I feel like the racial element is just like such a red herring that it's just like, I'm white, like, sorry, you know, a lot of the rappers are black. But that's just is what it is. That doesn't have any bearing on like why I do what I do.
The message of his videos, if you've ever watched one, is like, I'm going to archive and like speak on all this crazy shit that happened, but this shit is bad. And this is like, this should stop. And like, you know, we need to talk about this. And, you know, it's notable because it's attached to these rappers who are very well known, but ultimately like, this is very bad. Like, then like frequently I have to answer for that as well, where people act like, no, like you're excited about this. Like you want this to continue. And I'm like, no, like absolutely not. Like, but I don't think that us speaking about it is going to create more of it. To me, that's just like the ultimate low IQ take. That would be like saying like, because we're speaking about a bunch of shit that Trump is doing that we think is wrong, that then we're somehow encouraging it. It's like, no, we're just like chronicling it and speaking about it and passing judgment on it.
Brandon Buckingham had a good defense to this when they were saying the same thing at him after the whole YBC Duel thing, and like he was basically saying like blaming me for the violence is like blaming the weatherman for it being raining. I'm just here reporting on it and spreading the word and trying to give a responsible take on it. But ultimately, like, and that's why I try and trace the history back, because like a lot of the reasons for things to be so violent and messed up in these communities, if I'm completely honest about what I think the causes are, it's like you trace things back to then you've got like, you know, Section 8 housing, the ghettoization of certain areas of America where, you know, gangs have formed. One of the points that I find very interesting is like one of the reasons that often people say like the Crips got started in Los Angeles is because that they didn't let like young black kids into the Boy Scouts of America, and there was so much racism after World War II that like a lot of black people had taken these industrial jobs away from white people, that there was just all of this institutional racism that ultimately had this side effect of creating these street gangs of these groups that they were like scared of the police. They wanted to police their own communities, but then it became this lawless thing. And just so much of it, I feel like if you trace it back, it just goes back to like discrimination. If you trace it back long enough, I just feel like the disadvantaged urban communities that really suffer and deal with these gang problems, it's like, I think you could trace it all the way back to slavery, to the point where essentially it's like this group of people have basically been completely marginalized and like rejected from mainstream parts of societies. Like young black kids can't join the Boy Scouts. Well, okay, what are they going to go and do with their time? And really, it's like I try and communicate that in my videos. Like I talk about, like the Great Migration and white flight and how certain areas that became gang strongholds have kind of been like neglected by the government or kind of like certain groups of people. And I just think that it's important to have those conversations. And I think just because I'm white doesn't necessarily mean that I shouldn't be able to talk about these things. In the same way that it's like, it's difficult if you're a white rapper, but whether you're black or you're white, if you've got a talent for making music, you should be able to do that. I don't think anyone should be able to say, well, you can't talk about hip hop or gangster rappers because you're white. That's racism to me. But no one really wants to hear me say that.
And really, like, I feel like you're someone who has the courage to say those kind of things that oftentimes aren't really said by members of people who are like directly involved in that community. And I'm gonna be real, like, it is kind of hard for me to imagine a post-gang violence America, because it just seems like such a natural reaction to like needing to survive in dangerous environments. Because it's like, okay, let's say we were all brothers, we live in a house. Well, when we leave the house, it makes sense for us to decide, hey, if you get beat up, I'm going to go and I'm going to beat up the guy who beat you up because we're brothers, we have to stick together. So then that gets applied to the whole block. And then that gets applied to maybe a couple surrounding blocks. And then all of a sudden it's basically a gang. And gun violence is on the table because that's the extreme lengths that our culture has basically got to. And there's another neighborhood over on the other side of town, and at some point we all go to the club and somebody from that neighborhood kills one of you guys, and then basically it's like on me, if I want to have respect within our culture, that I need to kill somebody from that area. And that's basically like the short version of how all of these gang rivalries become a thing. And it's like, I don't really know how you unwind that. I feel like in a place like LA, we've kind of seen LA be a little bit better at that. The murder rate is like down significantly from the 80s or 90s or whatever. And we see it quite frequently where, there's some inventive policing that has kind of been introduced in terms of these programs that basically like the cops will like intervene after somebody gets killed in a neighborhood to try to like lessen the chance of revenge killings or whatever. But it is kind of hard for me to imagine how that completely changes when shooting and killing somebody is not so uncommon. Like obviously that is going to create a rivalry that's basically going to just promote more violence. And unless you're able to like kind of stall that out or thwart that and then maybe find a way for that to maintain as the status quo for a couple of decades, it's just like we see peace treaties attempted all the time in LA or not necessarily like real peace treaties, but like, call to arms to like basically say, let's like not kill each other in this environment. Brick Baby, actually one of my co-hosts, he kind of like summed it up to me at one point. He said, like, if you really want peace in a city, the old heads in the gang basically need to make it clear that if you go and kill somebody from a rival territory, then we're going to kill you. And that's basically the only thing that would ultimately, it needs to become unpalatable enough to go and do a revenge killing that you feel like you might really die. That's like maybe the only thing that'll actually stop this tit for tat.
One of it goes into the kind of the hypocrisy thing again, also by conservatives, but it's always interesting to me that they'll look at like girls on OnlyFans and they'll be like, oh, this is fatherless behavior. Or they'll talk about like the importance of the family or the importance of, having, good parents and good, you got to do well in school and all this. And then they'll look at black people and it's like the first desegregated school attenders are in their like 60s. Like this is very recent history, but then for those communities, they don't apply the same thought at all. Where it's like, well, why aren't you over this yet? And it's like, bro, we're like, civil rights is like barely history. Like there are like so many people. Yeah, it's very frustrating that people are always expecting like such quick fixes to that. Meanwhile, like they recognize in their own families and stuff, like, yeah, if you abandon this child or if you fuck this up, like parents will have this idea that like a kid can grow up in a neighborhood surrounded by violence and he should be able to like pull himself up and make it out of there okay. Meanwhile, like if my kid plays too many violent video games, he's gonna be fucked for life. And it's like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's. Ugh.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle, and I feel like it's very difficult to really see it ending. There's so many more complicated things, you know. Then you've got like institutional racism within the police. Those communities aren't being properly policed. Like if the police were really solving some of these murders and delivering justice to that community, there'd probably be less of a need for people to take that justice into their own hands, which only perpetuates this cycle of violence. And again, like, you know, you even go back, like I think one of the last peace treaties that I knew about in the whole LA gang politics was like after the 1992 riots, and that was all sparked off by like the Rodney King case, and then like the officers being acquitted, and then, you know, it was just LA was on fire for a period of time, and then the gangs kind of quieted things down. But it's like that's what it took for even a brief respite in the gang war to go on. And it's like the problem's so complicated.
And I think like a lot of people think that the solution to gang violence might be just like everybody getting along, and I think what's actually like way more likely is just like a cease to like the killing. But like they're not like trying to like be best friends. They're still going to be massively separated. It just needs to like change the cultural norms of like people killing each other.
I think, but yeah, it's also like you need like opportunities and stuff, right? Like if you want to talk about like honor culture between like millionaires and shit, like I don't like. I have a lot of money. I've got a successful business. Like I'm not looking to fucking, if some guy wants to talk shit on me, knock yourself out. Like I have way more going on in my life than to, you know, put it on the line for this. But if you're somebody you legitimately don't have much else, like if I imagine, I don't know the position, but I would imagine it would feel really shitty when you have like nothing going for you in life. You don't have a family legacy. Your home might be fucked. Your education is fucked. You don't have any like good career opportunities available to you. And some guy's like, okay, well, you know, if these people, you know, jump your friend or, you know, talk shit or whatever, you just have to like let it slide. And it's like, what the fuck else is this guy going to do? What else, especially like as a man, right? Like what else do you have in life to even protect?
That's why people act like it would be so simple for Lil Durk to have just said, you know what, you killed my friend, but fuck it. I don't care. I'm going to focus on my career and my family and my business.
I'm going to go into Microsoft today and do my computer job, and I'm going to ignore all of this because I'm better than that. I want to contribute to my pension and 401k. Yeah.
But regardless of him being a millionaire, he would have basically been like the first of the lineage that he comes from to have taken on that attitude, and that attitude would have been viewed so negatively within his own community, like that it is kind of hard to imagine. And that the result is him putting out an album. Like his most recent upload on his second channel is basically about how after Lil Durk paid to get this dude killed in LA, that he basically put out a whole album with his crew rapping about it nonstop. And that's, you know, kind of bizarre to a lot of people. To us, it's not really even shocking anymore.
Well, it's like he had a whole crew of people basically just like, when are we going to get revenge for this thing? He's got all the money, he's got all the resources to basically make this thing happen. And you're right, it would have been near impossible for him to say, I'm going to be the bigger man and do this. And that's why I feel like in this video, I'm going to have a certain degree of sympathy for Dirk, because it's kind of like, look, I haven't had my friend killed in front of me and it be broadcast on camera and be mocked by the entire of Twitter over my friend getting killed and me not getting revenge. So I do have a certain degree of sympathy for, like, he's between a rock and a hard place, really. Because if he doesn't do that in his community, he's kind of ostracized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Anything else?
How long we just do? Do you even know?
A couple hours, maybe?
2 hours and 12 minutes.
Shout out to the Dalaban.
Jesus.
See, I know the lore.
Yeah.
DDG.
Anything else?
Or is
DGG.
it DGG?
Yeah.
DDG is a rapper.
Is he?
DGG.
Probably no bodies, but
Probably.
a rapper nonetheless. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the guy that had a kid on Kai Cenat's stream, got in trouble, right?
He's actually got some epic bodies, like the Little Mermaid. What?
I have no clue.
Well, he had a
I
baby
laughed
with the
along.
actress who played
Oh, okay.
the Little Mermaid.
Gotcha. Okay.
Different
now I
type
get
of
it.
body.
Okay,
You know,
gotcha.
kind of playing on a bunch of different playing fields.
Edit in a more authentic laugh there. If you put that on YouTube, August, thank you.
Yeah, use AI to make that like a non-sarcastic
Yeah.
laugh. Like, that's like a filter.
You need to see Destiny debate some gangbangers, man.
Yeah, I'm good on
Get
that.
some
I don't
Bloods
need
and
to
Crips up in here now.
I almost got murdered by house phone or
Oh
the
yeah.
whole thing. Yeah.
House phones don't catch bodies now.
He brought John Zerka as his security to the No Jumper office.
Oh,
on
yeah, just
an
okay.
additional layer of security on top of the security that we did have anyway, but it was because Potlord and House Phone were threatening his life.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? I need the lore on that. I need the breakdown for that for sure.
It was basically you got. Well, I don't remember
remember.
why you would be arguing with him, but you basically ended up insulting his mother at some point who had
He
passed.
definitely started it.
Yeah, he said some fucked
definitely
up shit.
started
You
it.
ended up
I never
mentioning
started it,
that.
okay?
But that's how it got to the point where they wanted to attack you. Oh no, it was because you made the slave master joke on the podcast, and then I was getting destroyed for it.
yeah,
where
I remember this.
Fat Man Mustard was the one who actually posted the clip.
Okay,
yeah.
So I made the. So it was actually similar to the question I just asked you, I think people misunderstood the joke. Like, I wasn't joking in that, like, oh yeah, like, Adam, you're the slave master, but more so that, like, how do you feel about the fact that people, like, you're like the slave master because you're a white guy, with all the, the tribe and everything.
But he was like teasing me, like giving me a hard time about like, oh, like, haha, aren't you a fucking slave master? Basically, I didn't laugh. I was like, ha, very funny. Yeah. We move on past it, and then that was used as evidence of like, oh, Adam invites people on his platform to basically make jokes about slavery. But then somehow that came up, I think, but I don't know. I don't remember why Yuri and all of them would be like going at him. It's a big blur.
It's the same thing.
Come up.
It was
what if
from
your brother
that,
leaves the house and you find out that your brother got insulted on a podcast from some guy? Well, I'll insult him too. That's how it goes.
Something along
There it
those
is.
lines, yeah.
Man, can't slide on Destiny. It's wrong.
No, yeah, that's why we're in this high security, high rise building right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you have a falling out with Fresh and Fit, or is that still a bridge that's open?
No, I feel bad because our content is just so different.
Now, especially.
Yeah, but no,
Well,
I
it's
don't
not
think
that different. He's like the young Muslim Hitler now, right?
Well, it's different in other ways. But
I wanted to go link up with him while we were out here, but
oh shit! Oh fuck! You could have.
Didn't really have time.
Did you single-handedly take down the red pill, or was it a group effort?
I don't know. That was always destined for like collapse.
Viewer fatigue was probably the main culprit, I would think. Just because,
No.
like, how many times are you going to have that conversation?
Okay.
Granted, whatever is still basically talking about
You
their
missed
body
the
counts.
dynamic here. Okay, he suggested I was being humble, and you were supposed to say, "No, yeah, it was definitely a large part due to your efforts."
Oh, I should have played into that. Yeah. No, it was him. Yeah.
No, I feel like you deconstructed the red pill for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. But anyway, okay, yeah. Oh no, yeah, no. Me and Fresh and Fit are still on a personal level. We're fine.
Do you think they're going to break up soon?
I have no idea. I don't watch to know enough what's going on, so I couldn't even predict it. I haven't heard anything though.
A lot of like YouTube commentary channels basically like pinpointing different awkward moments between them that they think will lead to them splitting up.
They got to stick together, man.
Yeah. I feel like at this point they're so into it together, they kind of have to, right? Yeah.
Do you
And
think
then also you have to be careful because like that pinpointing moments, right? If somebody watches a podcast for an hour, like I'll find people that'll make comments like, "Oh, you can tell that this guy." I just did a show, the Adam Friedland show. And
That was like one of the greatest. You saw it too? That was one of the funniest shit I ever seen.
yeah, it was fun, and I chatted with the dudes for like an hour afterwards. It was like a fun time. It was like all the dudes were funny, but like everybody's watching like, "Oh, you can tell that Adam fucking hates Destiny. He fucking he fucking hates this guy," and Desi fucking owned him here, and it's just like we're just like having a good.
The funniest moment, and I don't know how he like archives or like how he puts this together in his head, but like you said something about debating with your mom, and his immediate response was, "You shouldn't argue with your mom. My mom died 4 years ago," and you're just like kind of like, like how the fuck can I even make sense of this? Yeah, that guy's funny as fuck. That was good.
Yeah, they're
was
funny
excellent.
guys.
But do you think if Fresh got killed, that Myron would slide for him?
Yeah.
I think he would.
Slide for Fresh.
I think he would. And you know what? I'd fund it. Fuck it.
Be the Dirk
real
of
little
that
Dirk.
Fuck it. I'd fund it. You know what? Yeah, I
For
would.
hire.
If Tim Pool can take money from fucking Russian oligarchs, then I can buy some ammunition for Fit to go and avenge his boy.
We should all chip in for some hits.
Let's not
No?
do that.
I already know who he wants.
The thing is, you could have like 10 names in your head, and you'd probably be right on any one of them. So
I don't want to glorify anybody, but
I'm trying
also,
to think
we could work on it after.
yeah, I don't want to end up in one of your videos. It's like, well, this is where Destiny talked about funding this guy, and this is when you saw the downfall begin. So fuck you.
Yeah. No, I don't want to be saying RIP Destiny. They'll be smoking Destiny, all sorts.
Sure, yeah.
Destiny Creams. I know a porn star. That's their name. Destiny. And every time I see it, I think about him. It seems pretty funny to me.
Thanks.
Destiny Creams.
That'd be a great
I don't even know if that's our official name. That's like Freddie Gibbs' baby mom.
Oh, is that the one?
I think that might be just her name on Instagram.
You don't know if her real life name is Destiny Creams?
I just don't know if she like
guess it's probably
consistently
not.
goes by that anymore. But
Is that like an AKA name? Or that's the main name?
that's a weird name to me because it's like you're really glorifying like the creamy white shit that comes out of your vagina that I don't even know if that's necessarily considered to be a good thing or not.
It's kind of glorious.
I mean, if you're a porn star, that's kind
Something.
Creams is like positive. Discharge is the bad stuff, right?
of Jesus.
Discharge sounds smellier than cream for sure.
Cream's like, a little half and half.
So you have a girlfriend now?
Yeah, for about a year.
A year? What the fuck? Haven't you been divorced like a year?
Yeah, the
You
timeline.
just immediately, boom, get into another one?
That's a high value man right there.
That's
I
sick.
wasn't supposed to, but her cat is really cute. So like, fuck.
Wow. I like cats too, so I feel that.
Yeah.
My cat died a couple of years ago. I've been looking for a replacement.
Oh, I'm sorry.
RIP Tony.
Yeah.
Damn, that one. I thought about this for the first time because her cat is really cute. This is an adorable fucking cat.
What kind of cat is it?
I don't know. It's a cat.
What color?
Like different colors, gray and white. He's got like little white hands.
That's cute. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought about like, oh, like maybe I should like buy a cat. Like that seems like it would be like having my own cat.
I'm single.
But then like if I buy a cat, but then it'll die one day. I'm like, well, fuck, that would be sad.
I mean, you're like a decade.
Yeah, but that's even more time to get upset over it.
I had a cat for like 12 years.
Damn. Look, and I bet that was a hard death for you.
Oh, very tough. But
Jesus.
I'm not a God guy, but it felt like the cat waited to die until I had my firstborn. And then he was like, okay, I'm going to stick around for 6 months and then I'm out.
Wow.
So he knew I needed some softness, someone to love.
Oh, I didn't even think about it. I could just ladder my cats. Just buy one when one is about to go. So I always have
Of
like
course,
two
yeah.
cats.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I'll
it could
think
be
about
kind
it,
of
okay.
stressful to have like an old cat and a young cat living together because the young cat's going to fuck with him and he's not going to be able to handle it.
Guy's going to die anyway.
It'll
Probably a quicker
expedite
death
the
than-
death, but
Yeah,
that's
there you
part
go.
of the transition, yeah.
Yeah.
You're supposed to get two at the same time, right? That's like the way to do it, apparently.
We got 2 cats and then had to like get rid of them a few months later because my niece is allergic and she couldn't come over and play with the cats over there. But my kid still years later is talking about the cats by
How many
name.
fucking nieces do you have?
Just one.
Oh, whatever.
But she like, comes over.
Oh my God. Look at this guy.
What's her name?
That's a good looking
Honey.
cat.
But it's a boy, honey.
That's such a cute cat.
Dece cat.
You want to see my cat?
Sure. Let's see it.
You want to see my dick?
Got a cute ass cat.
Sure.
Sure.
Why not? What do you ever feel weird in the US with all the guns around? Is that
Yeah, kind of pretty weird. I mean, it's all knives in the UK, but
Oh, he's got the big
I know, right? So
Is this-
cute. You see my cat?
Aww.
Yeah, no, it's my first pet ever.
I feel like my last cat that was like the most epic cat, all white, fat, grumpy.
Okay.
It's just like such a funny image to like walk in on all the time. It's like kind of hard for me to ever imagine loving a cat as much as I loved him.
I like grumpy cats because it feels more earned when they're nice to you. You're like,
Exactly. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So I don't like dogs as much. It feels like a clingy girl. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I get it.
My dogs always want to cuddle, and I kind of
Yeah.
just constantly
Like I just abused you yesterday and you're still like happy
get
to
away
see
from
me.
me.
It's like, yeah. Whereas like for a cat, like I pet him too much and now I have to earn his affection back for like a week.
Do you? I knew a girl back in the day who told me that her cat would be in heat, and so she would shove her fingers in the cat's vagina to shut her up. So if you don't know, cats, they get very loud when they start menstruating or whatever, and like she just told me that like as if it was the most normal thing in the world. And I've just kind of been thinking about it ever since because I've never heard of anyone else saying that. But she said it like it was like a, an old wives, not an old wives' tale, but like a home remedy. Like, oh, your cat won't shut up, so you do this.
I feel like that story would be significantly more gross if it was a male animal.
Have you ever like hurt a cat in any way? It's like they just imagine how you would have to hold it down to put a finger in it.
That's wild.
Well, no, you wouldn't hold it down. You just pet its the back part and it would.
I never even like noticed a cat's vagina.
That's probably because you're not staring deep into there.
Yeah, but I just wouldn't even know where to look.
It's probably where a normal vagina would be, I would imagine.
But like my cat, his dick was so small, I never saw it over the years. The fur was like way too long. Even when we get him trimmed, you still wouldn't really see anything.
Yeah, my
Just wasn't
cat's
excited
tiny.
enough. Yeah.
One time I did have a girl cat at one point that I found her laying in a pool of blood and realized that she had just had her period for the first time. And that was kind of mind blowing.
Jesus. Must have been traumatic for her.
It was traumatic for me thinking that like, holy shit, did you cut yourself open on something? You're bleeding out sitting here. And then realizing like, oh, this is coming from the inside of your body. Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, hey, thanks a lot. Where do people find you? Where's the next place they should look for a thing? What do you got in the pipeline? Where do people go to find your stuff?
Yeah, Trap Law Ross on YouTube. Gonna have a big Little Duck documentary dropping soon. It's gonna be explosive.
No,
And just to be clear, you have a big doc, and it's a big thing about a guy named Lil Durk.
Yeah, a big.
You
doc
said Big
on
Lil Durk.
A
Okay,
big
gotcha.
Lil Durk.
Cool.
Big Doug is his father, by the way.
mine is just No Jumper on YouTube and then Adam22 on Twitter and Instagram and whatnot.
Cool.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steven.
I have to walk over there. Thanks. You're still on, so don't say anything crazy, okay?
Got it.
I'm gonna use the bathroom quick.
God, I do not like people from other cultures. Let me just start weighing in on this.